Fred Vasseur unleashed a storm that didn't just stay within Ferrari's garage, but echoed throughout the entire Formula One paddock after a weekend filled with setbacks, disappointment, and underwhelming performance in the United States. Despite the unfavorable scenario, the French team principal stood firm in his belief that the team's strategy was not only appropriate, but also well executed. What is truly striking, however, is not just his confidence in defending the plan, but how much it contrasts with the intense emotions and dissatisfaction expressed by Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. Before we dive into what Vasseur actually said, the drivers' reactions, and what all of this means for a team still searching for stability, make sure to support this content by subscribing and staying with us until the end. Because what you're about to hear could change how we interpret Ferrari's strategic mindset this season. Back in Miami, it became clear that Ferrari's performance collapsed, not just in terms of pace, but organizationally as well, in front of a global audience. Hamilton's podium in the sprint race briefly reignited hopes that his car might still have untapped potential, but that optimism crumbled quickly during the main event. The British driver and his Monegasque teammate finished 7th and 8th respectively. Results that don't look bad on paper, but that masked a race full of strategic hesitation, unclear instructions, and a lack of assertive leadership. The core of the drama wasn't in the lap times, but in the team radio exchanges. Hamilton, equipped with fresher medium compound tires, caught up to Leclerc and requested permission to pass. His reasoning was straightforward: better grip, newer tires, and a limited window to close the gap to young Kimi Antonelli ahead. Ferrari's response, however, was delayed. Instead of green-lighting the swap immediately, they instructed Hamilton to stay behind and use the DRS. That was the breaking point. The Briton shot back that this wasn't teamwork. A few laps later, the order was finally given, but it was too late. The turbulent air from following so closely had overheated Hamilton's tires. His pace advantage was gone, and the rival car ahead was already out of reach. As if that wasn't enough, in a move that only added to the confusion, Ferrari ordered another position change. Now Leclerc appeared faster, and Hamilton, clearly irritated, responded with sarcasm. When told Carlos Sainz was closing in, his response was cutting. "Do you want me to let him through too?" Post-race comments revealed a lot. Hamilton described the situation as chaotic and sharply criticized the team's slow decision-making. He emphasized that while the engineers sit with all the data, the drivers are making calculations on the fly under pressure. He made it clear this wasn't just a communication issue, it was a call for a complete overhaul in how Ferrari responds to critical moments. Leclerc, in a more measured tone, echoed the same concerns. He pointed out there was no personal conflict between him and Hamilton, but didn't shy away from criticizing the car's limitation. He admitted 8th place was the best they could do that day. And that's the core of the issue. The team's struggles aren't just about tactical decision. They stem from a structural inability to deliver a competitive machine. Both drivers are fully aware of that. Then came Vasseur's most controversial statement. In an interview with international media, including Britain's Sky Sports, the French team principal not only defended the calls made, but described the entire operation as successful. According to him, the strategy worked as planned. The position swap took place, and the reversal followed. From his point of view, what happened wasn't disarray, but control under challenging conditions. The drivers had their opportunities, and the final result was dictated by factors beyond the team's control. However, that perspective didn't sit well with everyone. For many inside the paddock, and even within the team, Vasseur's comments felt more like denial than analysis. When he emphasized that Ferrari races for Ferrari, not for individuals, it became clear he was trying to distance himself from a star-driven leadership model. The intention may be noble, but it overlooks the current context of the sport, where driver talent is central to success. The truth is, the team doesn't just represent the Ferrari brand, it represents the ambitions of Hamilton and Leclerc, two drivers with their own legacies and goals. If either of them loses faith in the team's ability to deliver results, the consequences could be far-reaching. Even though Vasseur insists there is mutual trust between him and his drivers, that kind of bond is only sustained through concrete actions, and what has been seen so far are decisions that are hesitant disconnected, and below the expectations of a title-contending team. The poorly managed position swap in Miami should not be seen as an isolated error, but rather as a symptom of an approach that no longer fits the fast-paced, reactive nature of modern Formula One. While rivals can respond within seconds, Ferrari still seems bound to a mindset where crucial decisions take minutes, and those minutes, over the course of a season, turn into lost points, missed podiums, and, most dangerously, the depletion of their drivers' patience. To avoid yet another year of frustration, Ferrari will need more than technical upgrades. They'll need a strategic overhaul, a clearer chain of command, and sharper alignment with their true objectives. The drivers have done their part, managing tires, following instructions, and keeping their emotions in check. But that commitment is not endless. The Miami Grand Prix made that clear. Although both cars finished in the points, the real story unfolded behind the scenes in questionable decision-making. While Hamilton and Leclerc demanded leadership, the team responded with hesitation. Now, with the European leg of the calendar approaching, all eyes are on Maranello. In a sport where every second counts, Ferrari can no longer afford to be late. Tell us in the comment, do you agree with Vasseur's assessment? Or do you believe Ferrari is simply masking deeper problems behind a facade of strategic discipline? The events in Miami didn't just reveal a tactical mistake. They exposed a widening gap between Ferrari's leadership philosophy and the reality their drivers face on track. And if that gap continues to grow, the consequences will be inevitable. The issue lies in the gap between theory and execution. Vasseur claims the decisions were executed effectively, that the switch between the two drivers and the later reversal were handled according to plan. But from the cockpit, the experience was completely different. Delayed reactions, indecision at crucial moments, and missed opportunities that could have made all the difference. These criticisms weren't made in the heat of the moment. They were calculated expressions of ongoing frustration. Hamilton, ever direct, made his dissatisfaction crystal clear. His sarcastic radio messages, his post-race call for quicker decisions, and his admission that performance had declined since the Chinese Grand Prix were deliberate signals. From his perspective, Ferrari is falling behind in terms of speed and precision compared to its rival. And at this level, that perception is critical. Championships aren't just won through power and pace. They're won through harmony between planning and flawless execution under pressure. Leclerc, though more reserved, also made his frustration known. His calm yet pointed remarks suggested an even more troubling reality. The car, as it stands, simply isn't good enough. Even with perfect laps and full commitment to the strategy, 7th and 8th places were the ceiling. And when a driver as disciplined and technically sharp as Leclerc starts treating disappointment as inevitable, alarm bells should ring at Maranello. What's even more concerning is Vasseur's broader tone. While his explanations may have been logical in some respects, his speech gave off a sense of complacency, as if the current underperformance was just part of the journey, as if patience and trust would be enough to weather the storm. But that's not how Formula One works. The sport doesn't wait. It punishes hesitation. And when your competitors are evolving faster, reacting quicker, and thinking bolder, caution becomes a liability. The trust Vasseur speaks of between team boss and driver isn't built on good intentions alone. It's forged through results. If the top drivers feel they're being held back, not by the competition, but by the internal choices of their own team, that trust starts to erode. And once that trust breaks down, it's extremely difficult to rebuild, especially in an environment as intense and scrutinized as Ferrari. With key races coming up in Imola, Barcelona, and Monaco, the team finds itself at a crossroads. They can recalibrate their approach, become more decisive, more aggressive, and more in sync with their ambitions, or risk slipping into a season marked by missed opportunities and growing frustration. Because the drivers are still doing their job, they're pushing the car to its limits, dealing with instability, overheating tires, and compromised strategies. Now it's the team's turn to rise to the occasion. So support our work by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and staying tuned. Because if Ferrari keeps blurring the line between justification and excuse, It won't just be Hamilton and Leclerc who lose faith. It will be every fan still clinging to the hope that Ferrari can once again become a true title contender.